All right, so today we're diving into the life of someone who faced a level of pressure that most of us can only imagine. We're talking about Mormon from the Book of Mormon.
Mormon.
Yeah, Mormon.
Yeah.
This guy was leading a nation, writing their history, all while, everything around him is totally falling apart.
Oh, wow.
And we've got some great resources to unpack his story, some study guides, and even a talk by Elder Bednar that sheds some light on things.
Okay, so what's fascinating about Mormon is that even though his story took place like thousands of years ago, it still feels incredibly relevant. It's
Yeah.
like this ultimate guide to dealing with crazy stress, like how to stay true to yourself even when everything's going wrong and learning to lead when it seems like no one's even remotely interested in following.
Yeah, talk about being thrown in the deep end, right? Like imagine you're 10 years old, right? You're just figuring out like what video games to play, and someone tells you, guess what? You're now responsible for writing the entire history of our civilization.
Oh, no pressure.
Right. But here's the thing. Even as a kid, Mormon was different.
Mhm.
The scriptures describe him as like sober, meaning like seriously thoughtful, even at that age,
Yeah,
and quick to observe.
quick to observe. I like that. It's not just seeing what's happening. Right.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's like Elder Bednar talks about. It's about really paying attention, like connecting the dots and then actually doing something about it.
Right.
Turning your observations into action, which is, leadership 101. But honestly, it's such a valuable skill no matter what you do in life.
Totally. And thinking back to when I was 10, I was definitely more into video games than, pondering the fate of civilizations.
Yeah.
But things got very real for Mormon as a teenager.
Yeah.
And we're talking total chaos. Like, imagine a dystopian movie playing out in real life. Wars, destruction, people making just terrible choices everywhere you look.
It's rough.
And guess who they decided to put in charge?
Let me guess. Mormon.
16-year-old Mormon.
16? You're kidding. Leading an army at 16.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the pressure of that? Like, we can sit here and judge the people he was trying to lead, but wow, the weight on his shoulders must have been immense.
It's heavy stuff. And he wasn't just fighting battles. He was writing everything down, trying to help people learn from their mistakes,
Yeah.
He was clinging to hope, even when things looked completely hopeless.
Wow. That's a lot for anyone to handle, let alone someone that young. It's inspiring, though,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't just about battles and politics with Mormon. You can tell this guy genuinely cared about his people.
Yeah.
Even when he's describing the bad choices they're making, you can feel his compassion in the scriptures.
I think that's what makes Mormon so relatable. He's not some perfect, untouchable prophet figure. He felt things deeply. You can tell he's hurt by their actions. He wanted them to choose a better path, to understand how much God loved them. I think that's really powerful, especially for young people today. Like when you feel like you're not being heard or like your choices don't really matter.
Yeah, I can see that. It really makes you think, like when you see all this crazy stuff happening in the world today, the wars, the political arguments, even just drama in your own life, at school or whatever.
It can feel so overwhelming sometimes.
It is. And it's easy to feel like, what can I do? Like my voice doesn't really matter in all this. But then you read about Mormon and it reminds you that every choice we make, even the small ones, can have a ripple effect.
That's so true. Every choice matters. And what's interesting is that Mormon wasn't just dealing with like physical battles and political craziness, right? He was also dealing with people rejecting those spiritual values that he knew could actually save them. It's kind of like that pressure you might feel when your friends are doing something isn't right, or when you stand up for what you believe in, even when it's not the popular thing to do.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And Mormon's life is like this perfect example of what true courage really is. It's not about just fitting in. It's about staying true to yourself even when it's hard, even when you're facing opposition.
It's those moments, like when you speak up for someone being bullied or when you choose to be honest, even if it means you might get in trouble.
Right. Those moments take real guts.
They do.
And Mormon's story is like this giant reminder that those small acts of courage, they really can make a difference, even if we can't always see it right away.
Absolutely. And, we've talked about how Mormon was this incredible leader and historian, but he was also such a powerful example of faith. Like, in all the sources we looked at, it's clear that the Book of Mormon, it wasn't just meant to be a history book, right?
No, definitely not. He had a much bigger purpose in mind.
He wanted his words to actually change people's hearts,
Yeah.
not just tell them what happened in the past,
He wanted to inspire them.
He did. He wanted them to understand Jesus Christ and to choose a better path for themselves. Which is honestly kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is.
Like in the middle of all that chaos and despair, he still had this incredible hope for the future.
Yeah, it's like he knew that even though his civilization was falling apart, his words could still have the power to inspire and lift people up even centuries later. It's such an important lesson for all of us.
Yeah, it's really something, right? To have that much hope, even when you're surrounded by so much negativity. Like, wow.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's such a powerful lesson for all of us, especially when you think about all the pressure young people are facing these days, social media, school, relationships.
That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot. It can feel like you're constantly bombarded with negativity. But, Mormon's story, it kind of reminds us that we can choose how we respond to those challenges. We don't have to let them drag us down.
We have a choice.
We do. We can choose to focus on the good, to hold on to hope, and to never give up on ourselves or our dreams. And that's a really, really powerful message, I think.
It is. So we started with this 10-year-old, right, given this absolutely huge monumental task.
Yeah.
And we watched him grow into this incredible leader facing like impossible odds. And even with all of that, we end with this message of hope and resilience, the power of faith to actually make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that, true leadership, it's not about having some fancy title or tons of followers online. It's about those everyday choices, the
Mhm.
choices we make to be a little bit kinder, a little bit braver, a little more true to ourselves and what we believe in.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, what amazing things could we accomplish if we faced our own challenges, our own everyday struggles, with even a fraction of the courage and compassion that Mormon had?
It's definitely something to think about.
It is. Until our next deep dive, everyone, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep striving to make a difference.